Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome back to the Galactic Visitor Center. In Episode 5, we discuss the Akashic Records, more reflections on our interview with Gracie, and what's to come.
It's an interesting concept. The other things that Dolores Cannon talks about is the Akashic Records. It's been described in a number of different ways.
I've heard about this a lot.
So it's described in a number of different ways. I'm just going to tell you the way that I like the best because it's easiest for me to understand. That it's like a tapestry, and every string going straight up and down, let's say, is a human life, right?
Okay.
And sometimes that string ends, then another picks up roughly the same area, but no strings are the same, right? Okay. The horizontal strings going across that, which is the other, other axis of the tapestry, are events. And some events are small, could be something as simple as, your kid's birthday party. Some events are giant, like, a terror attack or a war or, just some major cataclysm or some major positive event, like, I don't know, curing cancer, let's say, or something. So you have these other major kind of, on the other axis, cross section with each life that event touches, these other threads of events. And now inside of it, all of that is all the truth of the event, all of the experience of those people in that event, and then the collective knowledge, or not the collective knowledge, the collective experience of each person who's ever lived. And so it's this kind of like giant data bank of just people that have ever lived and every event that's ever happened.
Now, the way I've heard it described in documentaries and YouTube rabbit holes I've gone down is similar to that, but it's more, it's this kind of universal knowledge suppository that exists on this different dimensional plane. Because for example, they said there was some guy who he claimed to access the Akashic Records and became like a math genius kind of overnight. And it's because, again, like you said, if everyone who exists is on this tapestry, all you would have to do is access, the Einsteins, the Pythagoreans, all the greats, and you basically, okay, now I have access to their minds, and then kind of jump off from there. So this all drives.
Yeah, so that's the other thing that she talks about. Now she talks about a bunch of other things, and we'll save it for another episode where we'll dive into Dolores Cannon. In fact, she's got so much going on, you might even need 2 or 3 to talk about her. But the other thing that she talks about, which I think ties into this whole show that we do about the Galactic Visitor Center, is she talks about waves of volunteers. Now that ties back into our conversation with Gracie. Now the waves of volunteers are described by Dolores Cannon as souls that have agreed to incarnate on Earth in 3 waves. We're in towards the end of the second wave, starting on the beginning of the third wave, all coming here from other worlds to raise the conscious vibration of our planet to help us ascend,
like an intergalactic Peace Corps,
basically. Yeah,
and they're just, and we're basically the backwater third world country of the galaxy.
It's Doctors Without Borders. They're coming in, they're triaging us, they're being like, you guys haven't figured out medicine yet for your soul, so we're going to just get you there, don't worry.
They're still excreting waste through their bodies.
Yeah, so that's that, and that ties into some of the stuff that Gracie was talking about, which is like, she believes that she's incarnated from another place to be here and to be, I mean, her first experience with Greys was that she's here to tell the world what Greys are. But it goes beyond that, because the other stuff that we didn't even get into with Gracie, and this we touched on it by plugging her website, but this is the her past life regression. So she did the thing that Dolores Cannon developed, right? There's a person on TikTok, her name is Myra, and she goes by at Soul Signs Hypnosis. And what a phenomenal channel. I've deep dove on that channel so many times. The past live recordings that she has are fascinating. What she did with Gracie was different. Gracie's soul in her hypnosis, if you believe this, went in a different direction. Didn't go to a past life. It went to future lives on other worlds. At least that from Gracie's experience, that's what she believes happened. So she was talking about incarnating as this like blue creature on a planet where people were much more in tune with the actual planet itself being this conscious entity. She also talked about the Ashtar connection, channeling this guy, this alien Ashtar. And so that's really super interesting. We didn't even talk to her about that. So if and when we have her on again, we have to ask her about that. We have to go deeper into that. But the Ashtar Command, which is her website, right? It was Ashtar Command Ground Crew. The first person to talk about Ashtar, which is this extraterrestrial entity, right, is this guy Van Tassel. Now he set up a UFO like welcome center. So that ties into our show, the Galactic Visitor Center. He had a UFO welcome center out in the Mojave Desert, and back in 1952, I mean 70 years ago, he's channeling this guy Ashtar, and he's telling us about the Galactic Federation that Ashtar is a part of. There's a hierarchy. Ashtar is like Lord Ashtar in this hierarchy of the Galactic Federation. Their assignment.
I'm always a bit skeptical when I hear people say they channeled, but but I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, don't apologize. You have every right to be skeptical. In fact, I think if we had this conversation with Gracie, she'd be happy to address that. But the point is, you're only going on somebody's, they're giving you their story, right? It's their account. So what proof does she have? She doesn't have this dude Ashtar be like, come on in, let's test this DNA. You're going to find it's different. I'll show you his craft. It's ready to prove that he's from off world. She had a way of explaining that. She said, well, it goes against free will for some people on this planet right now. People have not agreed at this like consciousness level to have this contact yet. So that from her perspective, that's why it's still in this phase where only select people on Earth are channeling this guy. So
okay, so who's that? Who's Ashtar?
All right, so Ashtar is a commander, a lord of the Galactic Federation. The Galactic Federation is kind of roughly the like Federation from Star Trek. They have like the Prime Directive, where you don't interfere in more primitive civilizations development, right? That's the Prime Directive in Star Trek. Right. That's their Prime Directive too. So like there's a lot of crossover, like it's funny. Is it the media influencing us? Is it reality influencing
is it art imitating life, or is it life imitating art?
Right. Because if you look at Gracie's first experience, it's very similar to some of the stuff that happens early in Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. If you look at her regression, it's a lot like Avatar, the movie. If you look at the stuff that she's talking about with like, if you dig into what the Galactic Federation is and who Lord Ashtar is, that has a lot of parallels to Star Trek. So like, you begin to wonder, like, is it art imitating life or the other way?
Well, I personally believe it's that yin yang symbol where it's both. It's like it's this kind of interconnected loop where life imitates art, and then you have art. It's kind of it goes both ways, basically.
Both, yeah. Like there's a little bit of influence going both ways.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would believe that. Look, in my reality, I want for this stuff to be true so bad. I want for I do. Like I'm like, oh please, I really like.
I'm right with you. I'm right with you. Every day I wake up, the first thing I do is scroll Reddit, and I'm waiting for the breaking news. Like they're here. They've blamed it.
Yeah.
They've issued instructions. Like
And that's why, like, am I a coward? Like, why, or am I just disinteresting to aliens? Like, why can't I have that firm belief? Why can't I
Right,
jump into and be like, dude, I'm gonna go try to channel somebody right now?
right,
First of all,
right.
I don't even know where you'd get started, but the point is it the skeptical mindset that keeps you from being able to experience something like that, or
That's a
you
good
know,
point.
is this,
That
as
that
the
one
skeptics
percent
say, is this mass delusion?
that
That's
one
also an
percent
option.
doubt that 1% doubt in your mind may be what's keeping you from actually making that contact. And I think about, because I live out here in the Pacific Northwest. I camp a lot, and I definitely have had moments where you're deep in the forest, getting really good sky. Way better than you would get in any city. And I would you look and you see stars that you've never seen, and you go, well, there's for sure there's something there. You just
Oh my
inherently
God,
know it. Just
absolutely.
like like when they. So it's just a matter of, well, again, am I special enough to get that little contact?
Yeah, like how come, like, am I disinteresting to the aliens? Like, why don't they want to come down and abduct me? Like,
Right,
come on.
right.
Yeah, but
But
I
go
from what I hear, that's probably not a good experience. So
right. But going back to what you said about Gracie saying about how she's felt, um, she feels like she's part of this wave you speak of.
right.
Um, that's interesting because that's a feeling. I wonder. I'm sure that's a feeling a lot of people have. I felt my whole life. I've always felt I wasn't native to Earth. Like I just looked around and said, "This is not really my home," but I'm making like I'm a quote unquote soldier. So it's like I'll make it my home for the time being, but I'm not. This isn't really my place, and it's almost like I look at the people around me as um, not. I hate to say different, just a different wavelength, different bandwidth, and you go, if only you guys could just vibrate a little faster, like
Yeah. Well,
you'd get it. You'd get
I
it.
mean, if you talk to, people in Gracie's camp, which, I definitely have at least one foot in there, there's something to that. Like,
Mm.
that's just the feedback you would get, but that requires belief. That
Yeah.
requires for you to go on what their account is, and to go on
Mhm.
their testimony. And their testimony is consistent with other people's testimony. But you got to be able to jump in with that testimony without a whole lot of evidence.
Right. Right.
So, this has been this episode is running very long just because there's so much to unpack there. But there's a lot there. And really, what I found so interesting in talking to Gracie is she has a connection with our next interview, which will be Kosta Makreas, through the People's Disclosure Movement. And now the People's Disclosure Movement, I believe, doesn't require as much of a leap of faith, because, like you're saying, you
Right.
look up at that night sky, or we need a whole episode where we talk about the Drake equation, where we
Or
kind of
the
say statistically there's something out there. There absolutely is something out there. The question is it here, and is it interacting with us?
Well, I mean, and well, just to hinge on that, well, I mean, you see behind me the background, one of the early images they've released from the James Webb, and to me, that I waited around all day for that press conference. I was fired up. I had a cider cracked, ready to go. To me, this was going to be it. And that press conference came, and it was about 10 minutes long and kind of anticlimactic. But I watched it again, and it was what I realized. I wasn't reading between the lines, and it's basically, to me, you were getting as close to disclosure as you're going to get from officials. They essentially said, I mean, take a grain of sand, hold it at arm's distance, and that's what
Yeah,
you're looking at in terms of, like, that's just the slice of the
it's
sky you're looking at.
nuts.
So you're looking at
It's
nothing.
nuts.
So basically what they're saying is you do the math. Come on.
It's
They're
a
like, we're not gonna
statistical impossibility. I
right.
don't believe in the rare life theory. I don't think that we're all that rare. I think that
Yeah,
we
I
on
feel that
Earth
way.
are just what happens. What was it? I think Ron Bennington once said something like, if you leave enough hydrogen gas alone in space, eventually it'll start complaining about the subway being late.
Oh, Ron.
Like, you just need enough of it, and then it'll it'll fuse and create
Yeah,
worlds.
I mean, again, look. All you got to do is look at our deepest oceans. Look at the weird shit that's floating around down there that evolved without light, without
Yeah.
barely any oxygen. I mean, that fish, what is it? A lanternfish that literally just has a light dangling
Oh.
above its head that tricks other fish into thinking, "Oh, there's something over there," and then it just swallows them whole. Like, what kind
Yeah.
of horrible?
Isn't it the Jim Norton bit about like fish just like being too dumb to understand that something's too good to be true?
Oh, well, right. I mean,
Look at
yeah,
this great, beautiful light. Oh,
their brains
and then just
haven't
death.
their brains haven't evolved over millions of years. So, it's like that's just what you get. But yeah, so I would believe that there's a flow chart to life, and we are just the branch of like this is what happens when you get this many carbon molecules and this many oxygen molecules. You get these
Like-
bipedal hominoids, and if one thing has changed just a smidgen, we're something else.
Yeah. So we've been going on for a long time. I'm gonna have to cut this down possibly
Right,
to 2 episodes, which is fine because like
Yep.
what it gives us is we needed to explore at least at the surface some of those topics that we talked about with Gracie because we went deep and we went fast, and it was like if you're new to this topic, we were talking about things there that's like what, like you'd be lost. So
this is kind of like walking into the graduate level class when you're a freshman.
yeah, straight out of kindergarten.
Yeah.
So what? So all right. So the I guess the really great thing that we have coming up is we're going to be talking to Kosta Makreas. We're going to be talking about the stuff he's doing with the People's Disclosure Movement. You know what I kind of want to do? I kind of want to have you and me like join the People's Disclosure Movement like on camera. Like we'll just like jump in, we'll sign up, because they're having this Mount Shasta thing next year. That's another thing that came up with Gracie. She was like, put it on your calendar. June 2023.
I'm not far from there, so I'm going. I'll be there.
Dude, I'm on a plane. I'm there. Let's go.
All right.
All right. So
wait.
yeah, looking forward to talking to Kosta next time. And we're gonna have to use this extra long episode that we'll break up into 2 as a roadmap for other episodes, so we can like deep dive this topic.
Absolutely.
All right, and that's it for the Galactic Visitor Center. Join us next time when we talk to Kosta Makreas. Thanks for listening.